Good morning, Europe. It's Friday the 3rd of June. Here are the headlines.
It's been 100 days since Russia invaded Ukraine. More than 4,000 civilians have been killed and close to 7 million forced to flee the country. Beacons light up across the UK and Commonwealth in celebration of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. But the monarch will miss today's Thanksgiving service in her honour. US President Joe Biden calls for a ban on assault weapons after the latest wave of mass shootings across America.
It's 100 days since Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered the invasion of Ukraine, and the barbaric attack has wrought devastating consequences. The UN's Child Welfare Arm says the scale of the impact on the lives of children hasn't been seen since World War II. UNICEF says over 5 million are in need of humanitarian assistance, 3 million within Ukraine and 2.2 in refugee-hosting countries. That's on top of the millions of adults who've also fled the fighting, uprooting their lives, leaving possessions and loved ones behind in search for safety and shelter across Europe and beyond. And after meeting US President Joe Biden, NATO's chief warned of a long road ahead and the importance of the military alliance.
NATO's responsibility is to help and support Ukraine in upholding the right for self-defense. At the same time, NATO also has a responsibility to prevent this war from escalating, to become a full-fledged war between Russia and NATO. Wars are by nature unpredictable, and therefore we just have to be prepared for the long haul, because what we see is that this war has now become a war of attrition, where the Ukrainians are paying a high price for defending their own country on the battlefield.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky greeted newly appointed ambassadors from the US, India and Moldova on Thursday. Welcoming them to his country, he urged them to help support Ukraine by supplying the necessary arms to defend itself.
Turkey and the UN have been able to broker a deal with Russia and Ukraine to open a corridor to export grain that remains stuck in Ukraine and in the Black Sea ports, according to Turkey's news agency Anadolu. Citing Turkish diplomatic sources, state-run Anadolu says that the efforts could culminate in the signing of some kind of agreement in Istanbul. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is said to have finally achieved some success in his diplomatic attempts. From the start of the war, he has maintained a neutral role between Ukraine and Russia. A center regulating interaction between Russia and Ukraine with the mediation of Turkey in coordination with the UN is planned to be created in Istanbul. As part of this initiative, 20 million tons of grain could be exported to world markets. Nevertheless, Ukraine's wheat harvest is expected to fall by 40% and expects to collect just over 19 million tons of wheat this season.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has warned there will be no shortcuts to joining the European Union. Her comments come at the annual GlobeSec summit in Bratislava, where leaders discuss sustainability and security across the European continent. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, member states are debating Kyiv's demand to fast-track its application to the bloc.
Standards and conditions in an EU accession process must be met. There is neither a wild card nor shortcut. But how fast, how quickly, how the speed of such a process is, this is depending on the country itself and our support.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky also joined the meeting via a video link. He called for the West to put more pressure on Russia and thanked world leaders for their economic and military support. The Ukrainian president also addressed Luxembourg's parliament on Thursday morning. He said almost 20% of the country is now controlled by Russia an area spanning 125,000 square kilometres. Almost 300,000 square metres are scattered with unexploded mines and ammunition.
Addressing the leaders here in Bratislava at the GlobeSec conference, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky prioritized 3 issues on the top of the list of what Ukraine wants and expects from its allies. First and foremost, this is weapons. He said Ukraine is very grateful for all the weapons already delivered to Ukraine, but Ukraine needs more. The situation in the east of the country is still too complicated, and to fight there, Ukraine needs more weapons. The second priority is sanctions. He said it takes too much time to agree on the sanctions package, and whilst one has just been agreed, the other one should already be in preparations. And the third issue is Ukraine's chances to become the EU member, and that starts with candidate status. He said Ukrainians have already proven how much they're willing to join the European Union, and in fact, he said they have already paid a very steep price for that. He hopes that this status will come to Ukraine, will be given to Ukraine as soon as possible. The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, who spoke right after him, said that Brussels has seen how much Ukraine belongs to the European family, although when it comes to joining, there will be no shortcut. But joining the EU depends on 2 things. First of all, that depends on the efforts of the country that wants to join the EU, and secondly, that depends on EU's efforts to help that country. What's going to be discussed further on Friday here at the GlobeSec conference is the consequences of the war in Ukraine as it marks 100 days, and specifically the consequences when it comes to the dire food crisis. Sasha Vakulina, Euronews, Bratislava.
At Windsor Castle, Queen Elizabeth II triggered the start of the beacon lighting on Thursday evening as part of the festivities to celebrate her Platinum Jubilee. The 96-year-old was presented with a Commonwealth of Nations globe, which she pressed to begin the lighting up of the beacons right across the country. The process triggered the Tree of Trees sculpture outside Buckingham Palace, 32 kilometres from the castle. The sculpture is made up of 350 smaller trees and plants and was designed especially for the monarch's 70 years of service by Thomas Heatherwick. More than 1,500 beacons lit up across the country and the capitals of the Commonwealth countries. Iconic London landmarks lit up in red, white and blue. Archers then lit the longest chain of beacons at Hadrian's Wall. On Friday, the Queen will miss the Jubilee service at St Paul's Cathedral after experiencing discomfort from watching yesterday's parade. Prince Charles will officially represent Her Majesty. However, Prince Andrew will not attend as he has COVID.
The celebrations continue here in London. There'll be a platinum party at the Palace on Saturday night featuring musical entertainment from the likes of Sir Elton John, Andrea Bocelli and the rock band Queen. And the whole shebang ends up on Sunday with a massive carnival, a procession, a platinum procession going through London. It's cost £15 million and 10,000 people expected to take part. And the Queen will be expected back on the balcony of Buckingham Palace to lead a rendition of the national anthem, or to at least to join in that rendition. It'll be led by the pop star Ed Sheeran. So people here, the spectators here, very much hoping to see Her Majesty once again on the balcony at Buckingham Palace to round off the Jubilee celebrations here. Victoria Smith for Euronews in London.
Tributes pile up outside a school in Uvalde, Texas, where 19 children and 2 teachers were shot dead 10 days ago. And as the town tries to come to terms with the tragedy, politicians inevitably turn to the eternally divisive subject of gun control. On Thursday, US President Joe Biden delivered an impassioned plea to Congress to act on the emotive issue.
We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. And if we can't ban assault weapons, then we should raise the age to purchase them from 18 to 21. Strengthen background checks. Enact safe storage law and red flag laws. Repeal the immunity that protects gun manufacturers from liability. address the mental health crisis, deepening the trauma of gun violence and as a consequence of that violence. These are rational, common sense measures.
Taking part by video in a debate on the issue, a Florida Republican shows off one of his weapons. "I'm in my own house," he said when asked if the gun was loaded. "I can do whatever I want with my guns." Biden's common sense measures may do little to close the gap in such a polarized political climate.
American people believe in.